What's good? Hello, hello, internet world. It's Norma Joe again. Is my sound on? Okay. So, the last part of the Roman Empire series is Caligula, Caligula. And I feel like this one ripped us off the most. Because when I was watching that other show, the one that I called a more academic show or whatever, they went into all types of shit about how fucked up he was, and they had like their reenactors, the old school type of reenactors where they just have clip shows, no talking, no like story really, just clips. They showed people being tortured, like there was one clip that looked like the fucking Poughkeepsie tapes where it was like somebody's face up close to the camera like this, and they were like, I don't even know what was going on with them. They had like some wax all over their face or something, some flaky shit all over them, and the knife was like right here. It was really weird. And then there was somebody in stocks, I think being tortured with like hot steam or something like that, and yeah, just a whole bunch of fucked up shit. And like, I was like, all right, I'm ready to see some fucked up shit. And this show ripped us off so bad. Didn't want to go down that road at all. If anything, they tried to do the opposite. And I'm just like, I wasn't down for what they were trying to shell out. But I'll get into that. So, anyway, yeah, Caligula. I didn't know shit about this guy. The only thing I knew about Caligula previously is in The Office. There's this one episode where I think it's like a season finale of one of the seasons. The guy who was the boss at first before he left the show, uh, he was like trying to sell his mansion or something, and he had this theater in the mansion, and he's like, I wanted to show sexy movies like Eyes Wide Shut and Caligula or something like that. And then his little cronies who are always trying to get his attention were like, yeah, this theater is obviously made for erotic cinema. So that's literally the only thing I know about Caligula, is that it's a movie, I think from the 70s. I'm pretty sure the guy that plays him is the same dude from Clockwork Orange in there. So, yeah, wow, what a difference, what different characters, right there. That's not typecasting at all. And that's literally the only thing I knew, is that some dirty 70s movie. And that's it. I didn't even know this guy was young. In the show, I'm pretty sure, because unlike the other ones, they actually kind of keep track of like how many years are, I mean, they keep track of how many years are going by in the other ones, but it's like 10 years here, 5 years here. It's like, what? But in this one, the time span is more tight, and they kind of remind you more often. So it's like, okay, only 2 years have gone by. He was 26, now he's 28. He was 24, now he's 26. Something like that. I didn't even realize, I'm pretty sure, according to this show, that Caligula was killed when he was 28. So he didn't even make it to 30. I had no idea he was young. I thought he was just a stereotypical, like, middle-aged creeper, But you learn something new all the time. So anyways, okay. This show, let me think, how does it start? So it starts basically, first of all, it starts with this dream sequence. And I feel like I'm gonna forget so fucking much. And it's hilarious because after this I plan to go for a walk, and then when I come back, I'm gonna watch this again. I'm gonna watch the Caligula section again. I watched Commodus again last night, kind of with the sound off, and I fell asleep on it. I'm gonna watch the Caligula section again, which is gonna be really funny because I'll see how much I fucked up and how much I forgot and left out. And I'll work out to it. I'll be like, this will be my workout inspiration. Whatever. Anyways, where the fuck was I? It starts with this dream sequence. Caligula is like on the shore with a bunch of people. It's like very creepy atmosphere, and there's like somebody on the funeral. And I forgot to mention the other two episodes. They have a funeral scene in both those other two episodes, and it's funny because it's like both times they always like cover the person's face up, or sometimes I think first they just cover up the lady's face, but then the next time they covered up like the whole body, and it's obviously because they want to be able to switch it out for a dummy. Like, it's kind of clever because it's like, oh yeah, you cover the face at a funeral. But then it's obviously because when they were making the movie, like, they wanted to be able to switch it out for a dummy because they set the pyre on fire for real. I'm pretty sure. It's what it looked real. So it's like obviously they don't want to have somebody like really laying on there. That would be some 60s, 70s like ass shit. Like, oh yeah, just lay on the fire, it's fine. But you can just leap. We'll just film a little bit, and you can leap off before it actually burns you. I can picture that shit going on in the 70s. Like, but what was I gonna say? Right. So Caligula, he like there's this funeral going on. There's a body with a sheet on it. Who do you think is underneath? He goes and lifts the sheet up, and it's himself. It's so creative, right? We've never seen that shit before. So then he wakes up, and then I can't remember. They go back to when he was like a little child. His dad. It's kind of confusing because there's two people. One is Gemellus or Gemellus. I think it's Gemellus, and the other one is Germanicus. So they kind of sound similar, but they're not the same. Germanicus is his dad. And Germanicus is this guy who's like, once again, they worship the military and all this shit. So he's some high-ranking commander in the army or something. Apparently he's like a celebrity in Rome. He's so popular and everybody loves him. They're like, you should be the next emperor. You should be the next emperor. And the guy who's the emperor right now is Tiberius, who came after Caesar Augustus. And you know what? I think Tiberius really got the shaft in both these shows that I watched. Because in the academic show, like, they glossed over Tiberius so fast that I thought I missed a part. Like, they were talking about Caesar Augustus, how he became emperor, how he fucking, basically essentially caused the death of Mark Antony and all this shit. They're like, then he became emperor. And then it's like, then Tiberius died and he nominated Caligula. It's like, what? Like, wait, we're talking about Tiberius now? They didn't even introduce him. They didn't even say, like, and then there was a guy named Tiberius, and they didn't even say two sentences about him. They literally just said, and then he died. It's like, what? And then they didn't even mention his birth before they mentioned his death. He didn't get a single sentence about his life. He started at his death. Doesn't that suck? And, like, they just showed, like, this old man just, like, kicking the bucket on the bed. And then they show a baby, which is supposed to be Caligula. Well, I thought it was supposed to be Caligula. Then later my dad was like, no, Caligula was like 19 when he died. I'm like, okay, then why did they show a baby? That was confusing. But that's the way it goes in these clip shows. See, that's what I'm talking about. It's a more abstract way of telling the story. So anyway, so what was I talking about? Right, so Caligula's a little baby. Not a baby, but like a 7-year-old, something like that. And he's with his dad in the army camp. His dad is walking around with him being like, and it's really funny because they put that Roman armor on the kid, with the 6-pack and all that shit, And, okay, whatever, it's fine. And so he's walking around with his son. The scholars are just talking about how popular Germanicus was and how great he was and how, he was probably going to be next in line or whatever. But there was some feuding, I guess, because Tiberius had a son of his own. But his son was like, I guess he was kind of like Commodus, he was lazy and he wasn't good or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they said. But there was some shit where basically Tiberius wanted to put his son next in line, but everyone was going to pressure him to choose Germanicus. I think that's what they said. Some shit along those lines, whatever. So, yeah, Tiberius is more what I thought Caligula was. He's like this older man that's just like, they spend so much time talking about what a pervert he is and how he just like, I can't remember, some shit happened where like, I can't remember if this is before or after his son died. I'm just going to say it's after. That seems to make more sense in my mind, but it could be before for all I fucking know. And essentially, basically, his son dies, like, out of nowhere. Who knows what the fuck happened? They don't even go into it. They're just like, yeah, his son was 35, and he just dropped dead. It's like crazy, right? So, then his son obviously was out of the way, so there's no more rivalship between him and Germanicus. And, then Tiberius moves to some, like, island or something like that, because he's just like, oh, somebody probably killed my son. He probably got poisoned, and then they're gonna try to poison me. So he moved away to this island. He's like, fuck Rome. My cronies can run it in my place, whatever. And he just ran it, like, he did work from home, basically, for the rest of his life or whatever. And then It's funny because my dad is a history buff, okay, and he was saying like, oh, the reason they skip over Tiberius' whole life is because there was really nothing to say. He was just like a decent, good emperor. But in the show, they are obviously trying to. They didn't agree with my dad. I don't know the truth because I'm not an expert in this field. I would need to do my own independent research and come to my own conclusions. But they were like, Tiberius sucked. Tiberius was the shittiest ass fucking motherfucking emperor. He sucked ass. He tortured everybody, and he was just like a motherfucker, and nobody liked his ass. And he was like a pervert. He was a pedo, and he was everything. Like he was just this nasty old man, and shit. And they're like, Augustus was great. Augustus was the best guy, but Tiberius was like the opposite. Tiberius was bad news and stuff. So I don't know. Whatever. I don't know if he's really as bad as they say. I don't know. Fucking know. I don't fucking know. But this is the angle they're spinning in the show. So basically, they were like just shit talking Tiberius up and down, making him look like a nasty, dirty old bitch. And they were like, he went to this island, all he did was fuck, and then he had all these hookers, like, jillion hookers, just like fucking Pablo Escobar on this island. And then he didn't even fuck them. He would just sit back, like, this is the way they show it. He's like sitting back with his wine, like this. Going like, yeah, this is the life, man. And then there's like 3 chicks on the bed, like naked. And this is the thing I was gonna say before, is that the nudity in this show is like in the 2 previous things, I'm pretty sure they only show tits. But in this one, they actually go full out. Like, they show a whole women's ass crack and everything. And they even show, like, some, like, I don't know what you call it. Like, just the front, not actual any sex organs, but, like the front, what people in the 70s call beaver, I guess, or whatever. But I think this is the thing about the censor board that is so ridiculous. Like, I think it's funny because it's like, they're like totally shaved. And it's like, okay, as long as you can't see any of the crease of their like pussy, like, because it's like, the way the girl was leaning, it's like, you could only see like, the, like, pubis, whatever you call that shit, I don't know. You could just see, like, nothing, really. Just, like, the fold of her, like, the V of her, like, crotch, but you couldn't see any, like, slit starting to begin, or you couldn't see any hair, because she was totally shaven, and I think that's really funny how, I feel like if she did have hair, if she wasn't shaven, then it wouldn't be allowed to be seen. But because she's shaven, and so her, like, crotch just blends into her stomach, basically, without a defining line, then they're like, oh, that's fine. Can you imagine working for the censor board of the FCC or something like that? Can you imagine, like, adhering to these, like, just pointless ass rules? Like, just so, like, arbitrary? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying Europe is perfect, but I think the Europeans have a little bit more of a realistic hold on this, at least traditionally. I don't know about now, because everything I've heard about Europe, especially England, is that they're curving to be a little bit more like America in these matters now. So I have no fucking clue. I've never been to Europe. I don't know if I will ever go. But this is just things I've heard, But the men, on the other hand, okay, I'm just going to say it right now in case I forget to say it later, but Caligula, even though they brand him as a huge slut and a huge whore, like, he never, ever, ever gets a nude scene. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I mean, I'm not, like, begging for a nude, but it's just, like, to be fair. Like, these girls are showing, like, butt crack, and they're showing, like, crotch front and everything like that, and Caligula is always wearing underwear. Even then, he's like, they're having these like softcore sex scenes where he's just like in bed with like all these women around him, but it's like, okay, it's implied that they're having sex, but in reality, they're only touching each other. The only parts of each other that are really touching are, like their hands, pretty much. And then sometimes the girl, like, sits on him. But they're obviously not fucking because he's wearing underwear. Like, it's, like, funny. It's, like, it's, like, a stage play, like, pretending to have sex. But it's, like, I can see that you're wearing a cloth. You're wearing... and it's not even, like, a little thong. Like, it's, like, full-on, like, shorts. And it's just, like, okay. I know that there's a censor thing about, like, the last thing you can ever show is like a guy with a boner. Like, so I don't know because I don't work in movies or anything like that, obviously. But it's like, okay, maybe if you put a guy in a scene with all these like naked ass girls, like maybe he can't help but get a boner. You're not allowed to show him naked in case you might see a little bit of it or some stupid shit like that. I don't know. I don't know. But I was just like, okay, can't you just have like a couple like seconds where I know you could just like turn this guy around and just like show him from the back and just show his butt and his butt crack like the same as you do with the girls. What's the problem with that? But I don't really care. I'm just pointing out like the flaws and the like inconsistencies. I really don't give a fuck, but it's more just interesting to me, you know? Anyways, so what was I talking about before I go on and on about realistic vomiting in movies and equal nudity? Where was I? So, right. So, anyways, they're like, Tiberius is a pervert and he just likes to watch women have sex with each other. He likes to watch lesbians, even if they're fake lesbians. They're only doing it for his entertainment and money. And, there was one scene where a girl was riding him. Once again, they like kind of hid everything. And once again, the girl was riding on top. They always have the exact same type of sex. They never, like, change it up or be creative. But that was only one time. It was like 3 seconds. And the rest of the time, he's just, like, watching everybody. So, anyways, okay. Skip back to fucking Caligula as a kid. His dad is teaching about weapons and war and quizzing him on, like, what is a sword made out of? How many men are in a legion? Which is interesting. He said it was 5,000. I did think it was 1,000, which is the answer the kid gave. But then he's like, no, it's 5,000. I'm like, you learn something new every day. Anyways, so after all that, fucking Germanicus gets killed. He's like just found dead in his tent or whatever. And then Caligula walks in and fucking sees it. And also, apparently Caligula is not his real name. It's a nickname. But that doesn't really matter. And you know what's funny? I'm listening to this podcast, History of Rome. And there's so many people with the same name. There's so many Claudiuses. There's so many Tiberiuses. There's so many, like, I can't think of it, but there's just so many people with the same name, going back for hundreds and hundreds of years. So many people with the same names over and over and over again. So, yeah, and I think, because in the other show, the more academic show, they said Caligula's real name was, like, I don't know, it was, like, Tiberius Claudius Octavian or some bullshit-ass generic name that's just, like, other people's names put together, you know? But kind of like in Arrested Development, how it's like George and Oscar, then it's like George Oscar, and then it's like Michael, and then it's like George Michael, you know? How they just combine people's names. I can't even talk, though, because the Italian side of my family, they do that same shit. Like, the names just cycle and cycle and cycle. So, it's realistic. Anyways, where was I? Right, so Germanicus gets killed. So Germanicus is out of the picture at this point, and fucking, Tiberius' son, he had a nice name, too. He had a pretty sounding name. It was, like, I can't remember. It was, like, Diosis or something? I can't remember. It was nice. It was a nice name. It was a pretty name. It's kind of like a male version of a woman's name. I can't remember what it was. But anyways, he'll come to me, maybe. So they're both out, and then there's this other guy too named Sejanus, I think Sejanus, something like that, and he has the best hair in the entire show. Like the guy who plays Caligula, I definitely think he's the cutest out of them all, out of the whole show, all 3 seasons. I think he's definitely the cutest, which is funny because I also think he's the most plain, but I guess that just speaks to my tastes. Maybe I like plain guys. I don't know. I like his brown eyes and. I don't know, whatever. He's the most attractive looking to me of the 3. But there's this guy, Sejanus, who is, like, has the best hair. His hair is fucking amazing. Oh my god, bitch. His hair is sickening. It's just floppy and float. Wait a second. Is somebody home? Hello? Hello? Somebody there? Okay, I think it's fine. God forbid my parents come home, but I'm not supposed to be home for like another like 3 hours, something like that. Anyways, wait. Okay, 20 minutes is almost up, so let me just stop it here.